Alright, so with the Pixel 9 series pretty much here, you might be wondering if you should invest into the Google hardware ecosystem. And maybe you're someone who's always seen the Pixel phones, and maybe you're curious about trying one out to see if they are truly worth it like all these YouTube videos say they are. Now, they do come with some pretty great features, but should you spend money on a Google Pixel smartphone? Well, let's take a look. Alright, so let's start off with the top reasons why you should get a Google Pixel phone. Speaking as someone who's owned several of them, they do have some nice features that help them stand out from the rest of the competition. And probably the biggest reason to get one is the camera performance. Now, having used different Pixel smartphones from the Pixel 3a and even the flagship models like the Pixel 6, Pixel 7, and Pixel 8, one thing that's really consistent across all models is the camera performance. Now, Google's computational photography is one of the best in the industry, and they have spent years developing the camera performance on their smartphones. And I gotta say, whether you're using a cheap smartphone like the Pixel 6a or the Pixel 7a, or one of the more expensive ones like the Pro models, you pretty much get a consistent experience with the same approach to color science, the same processing, the same way that Google handles contrast, dynamic range, and saturation, and all those stuff. And while there are some minute differences because of the hardware involved, the Pixel phones are pretty much a terrific choice for point-and-shoot photography, wherein you don't have to worry about whether or not your picture is going to look weird. And while they are not perfect, of course, they get the job done nicely. Now, of course, another highlight of owning a Google Pixel smartphone is the clean software. Now, unlike manufacturers like Samsung or Oppo or OnePlus that like to add a bit of extra into the software and pretty much change the entire look of Android altogether, Google's method with Android is to give users a cleaner look and approach with all the basics that you need without going overboard on the extra software. And yeah, overall, it's a fluid experience. You don't get bloatware on the Pixel phones. And I would like to say that it's kind of like the iOS equivalent of Android, where it's all clean throughout. So you don't get all these unnecessary apps taking up storage and draining your battery in the background. So yeah. Now, in relation to this, you also get regular software updates for Google Pixel phones. Now, in the past, Google usually provided up to 3 major Android upgrades for its phones, but ever since the launch of the Pixel 8 series, it does promise up to 7 years of software updates. So this is 7 years of major Android upgrades as well as 7 years of regular security updates. And if you're someone who likes to keep their phone for a long time, this is going to be a very ideal choice, as you do get the latest Android features first. You get access to the latest Android version as well, compared to most other Android manufacturers out there, which do take a while to release their updates as well as the Android upgrades. Now, of course, with the software, Google does include some Pixel exclusive features like we mentioned earlier, such as call screening, which I find really convenient and fun to use, especially when someone's trying to spam call you. There's also spam message filters, as well as the amazing voice-to-text recognition that you get on pretty much all of the Pixel phones nowadays. And yeah, these are features that are ideal for practical day-to-day usage, so they do help out if you just want a good old regular smartphone that gets the job done and does come with some useful, helpful extras. Now, with all this being said though, the Google Pixel phones are of course not perfect. As with any other device, they do come with some downsides. So probably one of the biggest downsides right now, at least in terms of overall performance, is the Tensor chips. So we have the first generation Tensor, the Tensor G2, G3, and of course this year's G4. Now, for daily usage, they are very capable. The Pixel phones are smooth for the most part, and aside from a couple of signal issues on the original Tensor chipset, the Tensor G2 and the G3 have been big improvements over the first model. And yeah, so far it's been a pretty balanced user experience for me. But unlike most Snapdragon chipsets, the Tensors could use a bit more improvement in terms of thermal management and of course battery endurance, which I think are the major points of consideration, especially for users who want a more capable smartphone when it comes to gaming or maybe on-the-go content creation. Now, people are hoping that this will change with the introduction of next year's Tensor G5 chip, which according to rumors is being developed with TSMC, and people are really hopeful that this will be a better experience compared to the Samsung fabricated Tensor chips. Now, another big downside is that sometimes in other regions, you will miss out on some features on the Pixel. For example, I bought a Pixel phone here in the UK, and it had all the features that I was telling you guys about earlier, like call screening and stuff like that. And after we went on vacation to the Philippines, I was unable to access those features while we were in the Philippines. So Google likes to impose this silly region lock for a majority of its features. I even lost access to 5G connectivity, even though my Philippine SIM card was 5G capable, which I think is kinda dumb. And if you live in countries outside major pixel markets like the US, the UK, Canada, Japan, or Europe or whatever, you will need to take this into consideration. Alright guys, so that pretty much does it for this quick video. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the pros and cons of getting a Google Pixel. Again, you do get terrific software support, great camera performance, and a ton of other features, but of course the overall performance, especially with heavy apps and software, as well as the availability of features in some regions, are of course key considerations to keep in mind if you want to purchase a Google Pixel phone. Again, don't forget to check out our other videos here on TeamVRY. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.